Well, it's great to be able to speak to you again in this way. These monthly videos are proving to be a great way of communicating, and I'm loving getting feedback and response. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to what I have to say and to get a bit of a sense of what I've been doing over the last month and where things are developing for the months to come. Particularly excited about us coming together again on Saturday for the third of our diocesan conversations. Greatly appreciated the feedback from archdeaconry meetings and from others who have written to me or chatted to me over a cup of coffee. Stimulated by the conversations we've been having and by some of the feedback that we've offered. There's some really important questions that are being raised, and it'll be good to just pursue that at greater depth on Saturday. It's a great shape to the program. I'm very grateful to all of those who will contribute on Saturday and looking forward to catching up with you all then. In the last month I've had a couple of trips overseas, in some ways just finishing off some of the primatial work that I've been involved in over many years. 2 weeks ago I was in Melbourne for a faith and science consultation which had been prompted by the Archbishop of Canterbury seeking to look, or to help the Anglican Church around the world, to look at the interface between science and faith. Particularly challenged by the consequences of bishops in some parts of the world expressing real concern about the nature of science and what science was suggesting in relation to the pandemic. And so, for example, bishops really challenging the veracity of vaccinations, and an estimation that many thousands of people died because they took the advice of the bishop not to be vaccinated. So how do we address that together was the focus of this workshop, of this consultation. How can science and faith be seen as companions on a journey? But in particular we were looking at the way in which thousands of years of indigenous knowledge is also an important partner in that sort of conversation. So there's the perspective which our faith brings, there's the perspective that science can bring, but there are also other ways of observing the world, making sense of the world, and accumulating knowledge. Those three things, particularly in parts of the world where science is not trusted, those three things need to be brought together. And then last week I was at two consultations in Fiji, one of which has real importance for this diocese. We were looking at the significance of theological education that is deeply rooted in place. And it was recognised by those who were gathering from right around the world, but particularly from Melanesia, Polynesia, Papua New Guinea and Australia, as well as Aotearoa, New Zealand, that Waikato Taranaki has a unique contribution to make as the Church grapples with the challenges of land alienation, the removal of land from Indigenous people, which has happened right around Oceania and right across the world. That our particular commitment to peace and reconciliation, to addressing the history, to shaping a new future, has something unique to offer. So that was very encouraging, very exciting. And the second part of the consultation was around looking at how the churches contribute at local levels, excuse me, at local levels to responding when natural disasters happen. So we think about our response following Gabriel, the cyclone that impacted so much on Northland and the East Coast. That's multiplied across the Pacific, where significant weather events have been impacting on those island nations for about 20 years now, growing in intensity, growing in their devastation. And the churches have been central to the response. We know that when Gabriel impacted, it was the church and the church's response that brought the greatest relief most immediately to rural communities up and down the East Coast, long before the government was able to get in play. So how do we build on that strength, the fact that we are in every local community, to ensure that we're responding well? and helping people, helping our neighbours at a point of greatest need. I also have really enjoyed my visits to local communities around the diocese over the last month. One particular highlight was visiting the people of St Peter's in Raglan. I enjoyed the creativity of the liturgy, the range of people who were involved, and I was particularly taken by the small group of young people who clearly were being beautifully supported by a couple of older women in the congregation who offered a simple program, but most importantly just offered real friendship, respect and love. The sense of excitement and joy that I saw in those young people when they met up with these two elders, these two mentors, the sense that they had of belonging, of being taken seriously, of being valued, was beautiful to see. And that seemed to reflect the culture of that small congregation. We don't have to be large in order to represent that love of Christ, that sense of being part of the family of Christ in our local communities. So to the people of St Peter's Raglan, thanks for the warmth of your welcome, your hospitality, just your sheer enjoyment of each other and your faithfulness to the gospel. So again, really looking forward to Saturday, to gathering together. This work that we're doing together is really important. We need to hear clearly from each other. We need to build the future together. So I'll see you then.